Good morning, Larimer County, and welcome to our Tuesday, February 27th, 2024 Administrative Matters Meeting. Call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would be kind enough to join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is John Kafalis, Commissioner Chair from District 1, joined by my Commissioner colleagues, Kristen Stevens from District 2 and Jody Shattuck McNally from District 3. We're also joined by folks across the way, Tessa Beatty with the Clerk and Recorder's Office, our County Manager Lorenda Volker, and two folks, Tom Clayton from our Communications Office and Sarah Martin from our Commissioner's Office. As is our custom and tradition, we'll begin with public comment. I don't believe anyone has signed up to offer public comment in person. I will ask Sarah if double check to see if anyone's signed up by phone.
No, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. So we'll close the public comment portion of our Administrative Matters meeting, and then we'll go on to approval of the minutes. Thanks to the Clerk and the Recorder's Office for diligently preparing the minutes each week, keeping track of things, making adjustments as needed. With that, I will ask, and I presume that we've all read them, I will ask Commissioner Shattuck McNally to offer the motion to approve.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the minutes for the week of February 19th, 2024.
Wonderful. Thank you. That is a proper motion. Any further discussion, colleagues? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. We now go to a review of the upcoming week, the Commissioner's schedule. We'll turn it over to Sarah. Thanks, Sarah.
This is the Commissioner's schedule for March 4th through the 9th, 2024. On Monday, March 4th, from 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally will attend the Thompson School District Berthoud Loveland Larimer County Liaison Meeting at the Thompson School District Administration Building at 800 South Taft Avenue in Loveland.
Hey, Sarah, could you talk a little bit closer to the mic or increase the volume?
From 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m., there will be a work session with Leslie Ellis, Director of Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources, in the Commissioner's Conference Room on the second floor. From 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m., there will be a liquor license hearing for Riverside Colorado LLC in the Commissioner's Conference Room on the second floor. On Tuesday, March 5th, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., there will be an Administrative Matters meeting in the hearing room on the first floor. From 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m., there will be administrative direction to county management in the Sprague Lake Conference Room on the second floor. From 3:30 p.m. to 5 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may attend the Rodeo Board meeting. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it's at the Thompson M. McKee Building at 5280 Arena Circle in Loveland, or virtually via Zoom. From 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the Parks Advisory Board meeting at the Horsetooth Area Information Center at 4200 West County Road 38E in Fort Collins. On Wednesday, March 6th, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., Commissioner Stevens may attend the Extension Advisory Board meeting. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it's at the Extension Office at 1525 Blue Spruce Drive in Fort Collins, or virtually via Zoom. From 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally will meet the Associated Students of Colorado State University Executive Cabinet at the Laurie Student Center at 1101 Center Avenue Mall in Fort Collins. From 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual North Interstate 25 Coalition meeting. On Thursday, March 7th, from 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m., Commissioner Kafalis will host a community conversation for the Wellington Waverly communities. Guests will be Alex Studi, Business Project Manager for the Larimer County Solid Waste, who will give an update regarding the North Landfill and diversion programs. From 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., Commissioner Stevens will attend the Upper Front Range Transportation Planning Region meeting in the hearing room on the first floor. From 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., Commissioner Stevens will attend the North Front Range Metropolitan Planning Organization Planning Council meeting in the hearing room on the first floor. On Friday, March 8th, from 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally will participate in the virtual Forest Health Council Legislative Committee meeting. From 8:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., Commissioner Cavalas will attend the State Board of Human Services meeting. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it's at 1575 Sherman Street in Denver, or virtually via Zoom. From 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m., Commissioners Stevens and Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Colorado Counties, Inc. Legislative Briefing meeting. On Saturday, March 9th, from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., Commissioner Cavalas will host a community conversation for the LaPorte community. Guest will be Larimer County Assessor Bob Overbeck, who will discuss the 2024 property valuation process at Mio Mai Pai at 3310 West County Road, 54G in LaPorte.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Sarah. Colleagues, do you have any questions or comments? Commissioner Stevens.
Yeah, just a couple things to add on my schedule. On the 7th, I have the CCAT Governing Board at noon. Noon to 1:30. I also have the Transportation Committee meeting, but I think I'm gonna do the Governing Board instead. And then on Friday, March 8th, I think I think these things were just added, so no worry about missing them. But we have the Middle Income Housing Authority. We have a webinar, developer and stakeholder webinar at 10 a.m. to try to get new people to take advantage of the MIHA bonding. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hey, Sarah, I'm not on the governing board, but I will be joining in to listen to the governing board as for CCAT because of some legislation things that are topics I want to listen to. And I guess I don't need to let you know, but I might be down at the state capitol on Wednesday or the 7th, but that's just to talk to some folks. So I really don't know if that needs to be on the schedule. I'm still trying to set that up. And then I think that's all I had. And the Wednesday, March 6th, meeting with the Associated Students of Colorado State University, that got moved to April 3rd.
Yeah, one moment. Are you good, Commissioner?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Commissioner Stevens.
Yeah, I forgot one thing. I have the Urban Renewal Authority meeting, or Urban Renewal Authority Agenda Planning meeting on Monday, March 4th from 1 to 1:30. That's with the City of Fort Collins. And then the liquor license hearing on this schedule, on the schedule you read, shows it's at the same time as the work session.
3 to 4.
So, but it is 3 to 4.
Yes.
So, just for the public to know. Thank you. That's it for me.
Right. I was going to point that out. Therefore, I do not have any questions or additions at this time. Although technically, the reference to the liquor license, there's a typo there. There should be an E in front of the A.
Noted.
In the interest of 99.9% accuracy, we should make that correction. Thank you. Thank you very much for your good work, Sarah. We'll now move on to the consent agenda. And the consent agenda is basically items that don't necessarily require a full discussion. The materials are available online. They're typically routine administrative items, and we go through them in a reasonable amount of time. There's the option of pulling something off the consent agenda from the commissioners, but otherwise we vote to approve overall. So with that explanation, let me offer the following. For today's consent agenda, February 27th, 2024, there are two agreements. One is the 2024 municipal law enforcement agreement by and between the county, Larimer County, and the town of Timnath. The term of this agreement is for this year, January 1 through December 31, 2024. Again, this is to provide municipal law enforcement services. The total dollar amount here is approximately $241,000. The second agreement is a license for the marina operations at Carter Lake Reservoir. Just some highlights. Approval of a 10-year license to operate a marina at Carter Lake with 2 additional 5-year renewal options. There has been significant public outreach and feedback for what was desired at the marina location. This was conducted prior to issuing a county request for proposal, going through the purchasing process, and an award was issued to the Carter Lake Marina, Inc., Incorporated, and contract negotiations have been underway since that time. Again, the details of this agreement are online. This is for January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2033. We are somewhat visionary, looking ahead, and there is no dollar amount. Next, we have, appointments, a couple of those. Recommended appointments to the Estes Valley Planning Advisory Committee, Natalie Handlos and Doyle Baker. Recommend appointment to a full term to the Estes Valley Planning Advisory Committee beginning today and ending June 30th, 2026. The next recommended appointment to approve is to the Office on Aging Advisory Committee, and that is to appoint Judith Brannon for a full-term appointment to the Office on Aging Advisory Committee beginning today, ending June 30th, 2026. There are 2 liquor license items, a renewal for the Senor Rafael at the Mexican Inn LLC. This is in Loveland, Colorado. It is a hotel and restaurant license type, approval and issuance. The second is a liquor license renewal for the Sylvandale Ranch in Loveland, Colorado, of course. And this is also a hotel and restaurant license type, optional as well. And this is a approval and issuance. Finally, there are 2 miscellaneous items. They're both stipulations for tax year 2023 value, and these are adjustments to the property value between the petitioner and the clerk's office as well as the assessor's office. So the first one is Blue Federal Credit Union stipulation, and the second is the 140 Bunyan Avenue LLC stipulation. Again, these are both for 2023 tax year. My goodness, that is all. So do either of my fellow commissioners wish to remove one of these items from the consent agenda? Then I will ask Commissioner Stevens if you would offer the motion, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda for February 27th, 2024.
Thank you. That is indeed a proper motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That also passes 3-0. I believe we're on a bit of a roll. I'm not aware of any guests, commissioners' guests. We can now move into our discussion items. There are 2 discussion items, and both of them, frankly, are kind of exciting. The first one is regarding, we'll ask Heidi Vilhauer from our Fleet Services to come up and introduce this item, but it has to do with first ever Larimer County all-electric vehicle. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Heidi Vilhauer, and I'm here with Matt Townsend as well. I'm the Director of Fleet Services, and I'm going to be talking about our first electric vehicle. So we purchased a F-150, and it is assigned to the Facilities Department. So we had it at Fleet for about 2 months before we gave it up because we really wanted to test drive it and make sure we understood the unit. So we were really hesitant to give it up. Matt called several times. Finally, we had to give him the keys. So this is a big deal to the county, not only because it contributes to our internal climate plan goal of increasing average miles in gallons of light-duty fleet by 20%, but it also is a good opportunity to use this vehicle to market it to internal departments. We've been collaborating with some of the various groups in our county. ESAT, Employee Sustainability Awareness Team, and then the iCares Group, Internal Climate Action Resilience and Educational Committee. And they've really been helpful with us to decide what is a good logo for this vehicle as we're starting to roll it out. You know, we do want to brag about it and put some something that significantly indicates that it's electric, and also a slogan. So that's kind of a neat little way to put a tag on it. And so they've been putting their ideas out there, and I think we have like 10 or 15. So we have a lot of good ideas, and we'll decide what is going to look good on the vehicle and put that on there. They're also helping with some communication assistance around that internal marketing, such as like ride and drive events, and just some different ways of reaching out to departments and saying, hey, come test drive this vehicle. Some people have never drove an electric vehicle. Maybe there's some ideas around it that are not accurate. Charging is super easy. Some of that Matt will discuss. So we just want to put it out there that we are excited and want departments to also share in that. So some of the F-150 features are it has a towing capacity of 5,000 pounds, has 563 horsepower engine with 775 pounds of torque. This outperforms a gasoline F-150 hands down. It has an onboard generator that can power up multiple hand tools and electronics. It has a 220-mile range of charge on a full battery. It has a famous frunk, which is the front trunk. And this thing is huge, like people could fit in there. It's super neat. I see them at Costco, people unloading all their vehicles into their frunk. The maintenance schedule is about 40% less than the standard gasoline vehicle. And really the only things that we're doing is inspecting these units, rotating tires, and changing the air filters. There's no fluid or anything until 200,000 miles. So really very minimal maintenance. So the cost feasibilities, there's limited units available if we look at the state bid and what the tax incentives allow, but we still have a lot of options. The average range of cost is around $50,000, just on an average between different models. And one really exciting piece of news is a shout out to Tony Garcia and Lori Lopez in the finance department for getting us pre-registered to file for those tax incentives that are eligible for the vehicles. And then, so moving forward, we're really excited with getting some of these grants for the chargers that will be installed at 200 West Oak and at the Carter Lake Visitor Center. Also, our new shop in Loveland at 6996 Rickenbacker will have 4 chargers installed, 2 in the front for public and then 2 in the back for fleet. And so this will allow us to extend our motor pool into electric vehicles. And this is also going to be a great way to give departments the opportunity to come try an EV firsthand. And if it works for their department, we can slide that over to them. Another thing, we're really getting diligent about reviewing replacements. So part of the fleet program is we replace vehicles on a economic cycle. And through that, we're talking with departments. Department of Natural Resources is one of them that has expressed interest with those chargers going in up at the Carter Lake Visitor Center, that perhaps either an EV or the PH, the plug-in hybrid electric, could be some good options. And those are becoming more readily available from the supplier stream, so that's good news. So yeah, this is just an exciting step towards our cleaner fuel vehicles, and we continue to explore various alternatives, including other EV options and biodiesel, hydrogen. These are just other great ways to reduce our emissions. So I'm going to invite Matt Townsend up and just to share user experience. So since he's getting to hot rod this thing around.
Good morning, Commissioners, everyone else. I'm Matt Townsend, Assistant Facilities Director. Yeah, this truck is awesome, truly. I think the downfall was it took about, 2 years, I think, for us to actually get it in. But once we got it away from Heidi, which was not easy, we're thoroughly enjoying the vehicle. For what we use it for, which is just driving around from site to site, delivering some supplies, it's absolutely perfect. Would I want to take it to Grand Junction? Maybe, but I'd definitely be scheduling ahead of time to find out where my chargers are, right? Because it is a 220-mile range. So, and it also depends on, there's some weather factors, I guess, which I haven't personally ran into yet with the cold weather. But when you're going over the mountain range, you definitely lose charge quicker. But it's what's amazing is I took it up to Estes last week, and on the way down we gained charge. So I had 80 miles left when I hit Estes, turned around after our meeting, and I got back to town, I had 91. So it recharges itself, as you're braking, as you're not using the battery and whatnot. But right now we have it at, when we park it, it's over at the Civic Center, right across the street. The parking garage at a level 1 charger, which is the lowest charger that you can charge with right now. And it takes about 12 hours to charge it from a 0 battery. Now, we never really have to worry about that because we monitor it pretty closely. We're not going to let it get down that far. But it's something to take into consideration if you're going to take the vehicle on a farther trip. Heidi, I think you said you charged it on a level 3,
Yes.
and it took an hour to charge it, and it was pretty low.
Right.
Right? So the city of Fort Collins has graciously given us a charger over there for $25 flat fee a month, which is super kind of them, right? I don't know what typically we'd be paying because that's the only place I've ever charged it. So I'm just basing that off of what you've told me. I think it was $26 for that hour. But anyways, $26 an hour to fill your vehicle, right? For another 220 it's a pretty good deal. So other than that, I think the only other thing I have to comment on is it's called a Ford Lightning, which is a play on, electricity. But I'm telling you, if you're not careful, if you hit the, John, you might have a lead foot, I don't know. But if you do, you're going to rack up the tickets because this thing is powerful. I'm not going to call it the gas pedal. You hit the go pedal a little hard and you feel like this thing's going to jump off the road. It is super powerful. So if you do see me whizzing by the administration building, it's not on purpose, but it is something to think. I mean, it's a very powerful vehicle. It rides super smooth. It's been a great experience, and I highly recommend it if it fits your business needs. That's all I got to say about that. Any questions?
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Heidi. Well done. Colleagues, do you have any questions or feedback? Commissioner Stevens? I'm working on my peripheral vision.
Should I go first? And
Sure,
then
why not?
I just have a couple questions. So thanks for telling us all about it, and I'm glad we've had a chance to test drive it. And just a couple questions with the rebate. Do we get a similar rebate? I mean, because we're a non-taxable entity, being the government. Do we get some kind of rebate from the government or some kind of? We do.
We do.
And
Yes,
so
we're-
is that the same as a resident would get if they bought an electric vehicle? Okay,
is.
so that's good. That
Yes.
brought the cost down, I'm sure.
Right.
I think 7,000.
And then, I don't know. I don't know if I have any other questions. Well, so when we consider buying, more electric vehicles or our hybrid vehicles or other kind of, fuel vehicles, what is the average like mileage in a day? I mean, is the 220 sufficient for most folks of the kind of trips that they're taking?
It probably depends on what the application is going to be. If they're running around town, it's going to be, that would probably work. If they're going to go up to Red Feathers, let's say round trip, then there might be some more concern there.
Okay. And do we, when you, I guess there's an app for where the charging stations are. Is that what you suggest that people use when they're taking that car?
Yeah, absolutely.
Taking the truck? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used the app, and it was nice because the charging stations are not always functioning, which is what I found. I went over to Jack's and plugged, because I thought, I could do a little shopping. It was before Christmas, and it did not work. So then I went over to the Children's Museum, and what was interesting about that is that's a level 3 charger. So initially you plug in and it says, okay, this is going to take you 1 hour because it's giving you so many kilowatts of energy per minute. And then this busload of children pull up and they go inside, and that kilowatt of energy just drains. It went from 47 down to 32. And so then that it takes my charging time up to like 1 hour and 15 minutes. It's just continuously fluctuating, whatever that energy is, transformers putting out.
So it's kind of an adjustment, I guess, to
It
make
is.
to figure out kind of
Yeah,
that,
so
that
you
piece.
sit in your car, or, I was just thinking from a user perspective, you really do need a plan, right? Like you're going to have to either sit in your car and do your emails, or plug in and have lunch, or,
Sure.
plug in at your house and let it charge for those 12 hours while you're out. So
Okay.
a lot of different options with the charging. The other thing is I was over at Centera. Not one time have I been over there, and there's availability on those chargers now. So really, there's also that. It's just becoming more popular.
Interesting.
And yeah,
Well, that goes to us helping build out the network of chargers. So
yeah.
which we
And,
plan
and
to
why
do.
the app is important, because if your plan is, you can reserve them and you can do some different things. You get fined if you stay on there too. So yeah, you want to have a good plan.
And the Ford actually also has its own app. So I registered the truck with the Ford app. So I can log in and I know exactly what the charge is. I know where it's sitting. I can start it. I can lock it. I can, do all sorts of things with the Ford app. So that's a nice option as well.
That's great. Well, thank you. Thanks for, for the adoption of this vehicle and for being open to that. And I'm excited for the future of this, and we'll keep plugging along.
Yeah. And lastly, if anyone wants to come check out the truck at any time, just let myself know, let Ken Cooper know, and we'll arrange. You can take it out. We can take you out in it, whatever.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, since a couple of my questions were already asked, I won't repeat them. But I do know I know there was the $7,500 tax credit that we got, but I think there was another. I'm looking it up right now because I sit on the National Environment, Energy, and Land Use Steering Committee, and there was another credit that for local governments that I think that we could apply for to do more. That I think that was quite a large amount. So I need to look into that. If you remind me about that, because they were like, just apply because this money is not being used. So I want to kind of look into that. The other question I have is, so anyone can use this, right? So even a commissioner could use this to drive to our community conversation and maybe make this
Well, it's not, I wouldn't say it's an overall fleet car because it's not one that's in the fleet pool. So it's dedicated to facilities.
okay.
Not to say we wouldn't be like, go ahead, right?
But with something that we could at least maybe come and learn about or try. and
absolutely, yeah, for
So
sure.
we could come and use how to use that. So it's really kind of a truck for work, sounds like, or for like facilities for moving things.
Mm-hmm.
So are we looking at some of these vehicles to be maybe in the future getting, because, driving down to Denver for us or something, would be great to have this and be able to charge in. And if so, is the future looking at maybe having some of these at the Loveland location, so some of those employees could just plug them in down there and drive them to, events? Because sometimes that's a detriment or a deterrent or barrier for me, is to have to drive all the way up here to get a vehicle and then have to drive the vehicle to be able to use it. And so, it doesn't make quite sense. So I'm just curious if that's something you're thinking about going forward, if we want to be able to have these for some of the employees to use if they're going to be at different locations. Curious.
Yeah, I would see it being strategically placed. I mean, Rickenbacker's right there off Crossroads. And then we do have the charger there in Loveland. And then also here we'll have the nice charger here at Oak. So, I think we can be strategic about getting some more electric vehicles in. And to your point, that's perfect. The pool car model is really ideal for a pool vehicle or electric vehicle.
Well, that's great. And if you're looking at the logo for all this, I'm assuming Larimer County will be part of that logo.
Yes.
But I know when the ranch had its first hybrid vehicle, it had listed on the bottom, Larimer County's first electric hybrid vehicle. I think that might be kind of nice to have that on for a little while, just to kind of show the public as it's driving around that, we're implementing these things. How many people can ride in that truck?
I would say
if we're not
5.
storing them in the trunk.
5,
Yeah.
two up front, 3 in the back.
Okay, great. And then the other thing I have to ask, what if it's got the towing capacity? Obviously, you chose this for a lot of reasons. What kinds of things would facilities be looking to? Would it be towing trailers or hauling equipment? I'm just curious.
We haven't really utilized the towing package yet. I'm not sure we will. But we utilize the bed of the truck all the time, right, to throw boxes in. And, our maintenance team has the two 2,500, 1-ton trucks that does a lot of our big, heavy lifting for us. But it is nice to know that if we ever need to hook up a trailer for anything, it's an option. And I would like to see how it performs when you're towing something and what that does to the battery life. We just haven't had that opportunity yet.
Great. Well, congratulations. I'm glad that you all have kind of drove it and kind of learned a lot of things to help pass on to the rest of us who'd like to be curious and interested in this, and just appreciate the work that you've done to get it here, because like you said, you waited for such a long time to, I think you said 2 years for it to, as we ordered it. So I appreciate the patience and diligence, and just well done. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Matt, I just want to thank you proactively for answering my question, and that is, how do we get to see the truck? And it's interesting that when I walk back and forth to the county building from home, one of my shortcut routes is through that little parking lot. I walked through there this morning, but now I know that I should keep a lookout for a Ford F-150 Lightning.
Lightning. Yeah, we park right, where Irene Josie parks?
Yes,
Stall right next to her.
okay.
Yeah, it's right there.
So thank you, and as my colleagues have said, well done. This is great. I think it's a really important step forward, and I'm looking forward to, over the years, strategically how we can add hybrid vehicles and electric vehicles to our fleet. So thanks a lot.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Have a nice day. The next discussion item, we have our Director of Performance Budget and Strategy, Josh Fudge, talking about the new 2024-2028 Larimer County Strategic Plan. Good morning, Josh. Welcome.
Thank you, Commissioners. So today is the culmination of a process that began almost a year ago to develop this version of the strategic plan, which will take place over the next 5 years. We started with gathering some data about our community. From there, we held a stakeholder community leaders summit back in the summer, where we heard from members of our community from government, nonprofits, business, underrepresented groups, pretty much a wide cross-section of the community. From their issues that they identified, we started to develop some draft goal areas and objectives. We then did a survey of our employees and our department heads to see what issues the county could tackle that were identified by those community leaders. We further refined these draft goals and objectives, and then we shared them with our Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Board to check the language and make sure that these objectives match the things that they're seeing. And so after all of that, I am pleased to bring these goals and objectives to you today. So as you'll see on the first slide here, we've identified 4 main goal areas. The first being resilient, equitable, and engaged community. The second goal area is quality of life, and I'll read the goals and objectives under them further here in the presentation. The third goal area is natural and built environment, and then the fourth goal area is county operations. So this is a presentation that we'll put on the website after today, and this just lists the process that I started with at the beginning. One thing or a few things that we're going to be doing in this version of the plan that are different than in prior years is you'll notice that the specific objectives don't actually have SMART goals, specific measurable deliverables for each objective. And that's because we learned in the last couple versions of the plan that we developed those types of objectives, then we picked the teams to work on them, and the teams that worked on them didn't really have any buy-in on creating those deliverables. So we wanted to provide teams a chance to see which high-level objectives the county wants to achieve, and then put them to work to develop those specific objectives and deliverables. We're utilizing more members of the public to serve as objective team members or subject matter experts. We are leveraging teams and projects that are already in process. One of the things we learned, especially at the Community Leaders Summit in the summer, was that the community wants the county to work on a lot of things, and a lot of those things the county is actually already working on in some capacity. And so we're going to leverage the teams and the processes that are already ongoing to help develop and achieve the strategic plan. And I'll get into a few more specifics around that. What we really wanted to avoid was duplicating where we had one team maybe already working on something, and then we create another team to do the exact same thing. We want to enhance public outreach about the plan and its achievements, both what the plan is and what we're going to achieve, and also why we picked these items. We heard in the past that there was a lot of feedback put into the strategic plan. Of course, not everything was picked as a goal or an objective, and then the folks who provided that input never really heard why perhaps their ideas weren't chosen. And then finally, the Department of Performance, Budget, and Strategy will provide administrative support for implementation. So the first goal area, resilient, equitable, and engaged community. Support Services and Chief Information Officer Mark Pfaffinger is our goal leader for this goal. We're kind of combining the role of executive sponsor and goal steward into one. We're calling it a goal leader. The specific goal language is design and offer programs that promote an equitable, engaged, and resilient community through a commitment to transparency, accountability, and outreach. The first objective under that is to communicate with the public. Our objective team leader is Michelle Bird, our Public Affairs Director, and I'll maybe skim over these sub-objectives a little bit. These are some of the things that we hope that these objective teams will achieve. This is language that also a lesson we learned can change over time. The last version of the plan, some of the objectives changed quite a bit because things happen, life happens, people on these teams move on, new people come aboard. Maybe there's a pandemic in the middle of your strategic plan. And so this language underneath, we envision probably will change and evolve as we go forward. But basically, this team's role is to communicate what's going on with the plan, why the objectives were chosen as they were, and then also what was achieved in the last version of the plan, which ended last year. Objective 2, improve accessibility to the county. The objective team leader is yet to be determined for this one. We have an idea for a person to take that over, but they're new in their role, and so we want to make sure they get comfortable first. But basically, the goal of this objective is to improve engagement with the community through multiple points of access to services and programs. There's a lot of people in our community that are comfortable using a wide variety of ways to communicate with the county, whether it's in person, written form, online, what have you. We want to make sure that we're touching all of those. And then also evaluate our legacy systems to ensure compliance with accessibility laws. And this is one of those areas where there's already an effort going on primarily in information technology to make sure that our web access especially complies with state law. And finally, the third objective, maximize partner relationships. Our team leader there is Lori Cadrich, Assistant County Manager, and the objective there the sub-objective is really to serve as a regional convener, facilitator, and collaborator to increase cooperation among all sectors. And please feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. The second goal area, quality of life. Community Justice Alternatives Director Emily Humphrey is the goal leader for this. The goal language is encourage a vibrant community with opportunities that enhance the health, well-being, and economic opportunities for all current and future generations of community members. The first objective under there is promote health and well-being for our community. Caitlin Lovett, a business operations coordinator in our human and economic health service category, is the objective team leader there. And basically the goal of this is to increase social support, connection, promote health and well-being in vulnerable populations, and then also develop a sequential intercept model to better address behavioral health within the criminal justice system. 1A and 1B that you see there are actually efforts that are kind of already ongoing in our health department. They build off the community health improvement plan. And so again, another area where we're taking advantage of work that's being done already. Objective 2, support an equitable economy. Mark Johnston, our Director of Economic and Workforce Development, is the objective team leader there. And he is actually leveraging 2 efforts that are already ongoing. One through NOCO Works, a regional effort, and then one a state strategic plan utilizing federal workforce programs. His 2 sub-objectives are to promote an equitable economy through support of underrepresented businesses, workforce, and customers. And second is to support the development of Northern Colorado's care workforce, including childcare, healthcare, and direct care. Finally, improving housing stability. Our objective team leader is Aaliyah Rodriguez. She is a housing program manager in human and economic health. Sub-objectives here are defining best practices for reentry for justice-involved residents, working with federal and state agencies to update definitions of people experiencing homelessness, and finally to coordinate regionally on land use issues to encourage affordable and attainable housing near transportation and jobs. Excuse me. Third goal area is natural and built environment. Leslie Ellis, Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources Director, is the goal leader here. The language is to support the conservation, stewardship, and resiliency of our natural and built environments while ensuring accessibility for people of all abilities. The first objective there is addressing current and future transportation needs. Our county engineer, Mark Peterson, is the objective team leader. He is going to start this particular objective with 1A there, which is identifying a long-term sustainable funding for capital projects in unincorporated areas. That is a very timely issue, and so that's going to be the first focus. After which, that team will move on to strengthening coordination with municipal and regional partners on construction and working with partners to enhance regional transportation to improve connectivity and infrastructure gaps between urban and rural centers. The reason there's an asterisk there is that these items are related to the Climate Smart and Future Ready plan. So that is a very robust effort around really environmental sustainability, housing, transportation, a lot of things that are already ongoing. And so the strategic plan is basically going to promote that work and say that, you know, these are things that we heard from the community that they want the county to achieve. We're working on it, and here's how that'll be done. The second objective is developing a sustainable built environment. Heidi Pruis, our Climate Smart and Sustainability Program Manager, is the objective team leader there. All of these items are part of that Climate Smart and Future Ready plan. And so you may actually hear about progress towards these objectives through her reporting mechanisms. But again, we were directed and we think it's a good idea to really promote a lot of these items as part of the strategic plan. So it'll kind of be a dual track. But basically everything here from water, regional air and water quality, electrification of buildings, coordinating a regional electric equipment rebate program, incentivizing water conservation, and developing a circular economy and solid waste and diversion program. So all of that will be achieved through Climate Smart. They already have their teams, and we're not going to duplicate that. As I like to say, the strategic plan will just take credit for their achievements. The third objective is develop a sustainable natural environment. The team leader is Megan Flanagan, Land Conservation Planning and Resource Division Manager in Natural Resources. I'm happy to say that this team has actually already met. They were the first ones to get going, and they are going to work on developing sustainable, cost-effective programs to support parks, open spaces, and rural and agricultural heritage. There was great discussion at their first team meeting with our extension office, natural resources, bringing those things together. And so they're already seeing ways that they can work together. Integrating wildfire resilient best practices and providing community education, and finally continuing aggressive efforts towards mitigation and restoration efforts to ensure watershed, forest, and ag land health. Yes.
Sorry to stop you on that roll. I'm super excited about this area and this objective. So I had a couple of questions, but first, let me just say the last 3C, I'm extremely happy to see that. I cannot express my urgency to address this issue for not only our county, but the region and the state. But my question is on 3B, when provide community education, are we going to be collaborating and partnering with other agencies that are doing this? Or are we going to be doing our own? Because we're already doing some of this. Are we expanding it? Are we partnering with partners? Or are we doing a separate new track? Just curious about that.
So that will ultimately be up to this team to decide. We discussed this a little bit in their initial meeting. You're right, Commissioner, there's a lot of efforts. I was at that meeting and I was surprised by how many groups are already working on this. Their first task that they've developed is really to create an inventory of all these things. And, from there, whether they work towards making the county a convener on those issues so that everyone's aware of what we're doing and it's promoted better, that could be an outcome. Whether there's actually a county effort to do this, that will come from this team. So it's to be determined.
Okay, I like to watch that because we already have, which is great, but I just don't want us to recreate the wheel if we don't need to. There's also the statewide FireWise program, and so I feel like it'd be great to make sure we're leveraging that and, like you said, maybe convening, but doing our part to help. I'll be very curious to see how this goes because there is I know about all these efforts because I'm in those meetings, so I'm just curious how that will go forward. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm really glad. I really am really thrilled about this objective and this plan. So of course you probably knew that I would be happy about this, but thank you.
Cool, thank you. So the final goal area is number 4, county operations. Laura Walker, our Human and Economic Health Director, is the goal leader for this. The goal language is to position Larimer County to achieve community priorities by developing future county leaders, focusing on efficiencies, innovation, and security, and supporting an inclusive environment for county staff. The first objective is optimizing county processes and systems. Our objective team leader is Julie Elser, our data program manager. This team has also had its first meeting, so that's excited that they've gotten started. There is a team that they will be having a liaison with, if you will, and there was a work session on this issue, which is to optimize the use of artificial intelligence to improve services, enhance efficiencies, and to recognize bias as well. The second item is analyze the allocation of resources for support services. As the county has grown and our public-facing services have grown, that'll be a goal of this objective to make sure that support services are properly allocating their resources to help those services, evaluating and improving all aspects of security in Larimer County, and finally creating community indicators and key performance measures. Objective number 2, coordinating and collaborating with partners and stakeholders. Our objective team leaders, we have 2 who are tag teaming this, Lori Metz in our Human Services Department and Katie Stieber, also in Human Services. Both are in the Aging and Adult Services Division. They will work to increase revenue by optimizing grant opportunities, expanding equitable access to services through co-location with partners and stakeholders, and reviewing and restructuring the facilities master plan. And finally, the last objective, supporting and developing leadership. Gordon Coombs, Operation Division Manager in our Human Services Department, is the team leader there. They will work to develop effective leadership skills and training for our managers, developing leadership skills in equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging, and finally, increasing the diversity of candidate pools for leadership positions. And so that is all of the goals and objectives. We do want to point out that one of our goals with the strategic plan is to point out that the county is doing a lot of other things too. Just because you don't see it in the strategic plan, there's a lot of other stuff going on, and so this will be part of that outreach and publicity effort. There's lots of other plans that I don't even have here, but we're going to make sure that a lot of our promotional materials point out that we're doing a lot of other stuff too, but the strategic plan is what we're focusing on. And so that is the end of the presentation. I think last time there was a motion on the part of the Board of County Commissioners to approve the goals and objectives for the plan. And with that, I will take any questions.
Josh, thank you very much. Well done. Commissioner Stevens, do you have questions or comments?
Probably more comments and questions. First of all, Josh, I know this has been a labor of love for you, so appreciate all the work that you and your and other folks, but especially you, have done on this. So I think this is great, a great plan moving forward. The only comment that I would want to make is, in thinking about the equitable economy piece, and I'm not, necessarily saying we add anything formally to this, but, I just watched a documentary called The Barber of Little Rock, and if you haven't seen it, it's really good. But it talks about wealth inequality, and especially, the average white person has much more wealth and generational wealth than a person of color. And so, as we look at underrepresented businesses and workforces, I think this is a really good thing for us to concentrate on and think about how we do better in our community. I think that potentially the revolving loan fund can be a tool that we use to kind of help with some of these inequalities. But women also have trouble starting a business and getting loans for a business, childcare. Certain businesses that aren't quite as profitable but are really needed in the community have trouble. And so when I think about how do we help not only people find a job and be employed in meaningful work, but how do we help them build wealth? I feel like it changes the dynamic of a community when you can help people build wealth. And so I guess I'd like us to keep that as kind of a North Star in a way on the equitable economy. It's not just the job, it's empowering people to be able to take out business loans and do some of the things and figure out some of that. So I hope that we kind of expand a little bit on what an equitable economy looks like and include kind of that piece. I would love to see that happen, because I think that we can talk about equity all we want, but if people can't meet their basic needs and build some wealth and be able to help their kids go to college and do all the things that they want to do, I don't think we're truly building equity, right? We're just propping folks up. And so, how do we get beyond meeting people meeting their basic needs, but really having that kind of economic power in our communities. So economic justice, I think, is how it's often referred to. But anyway, I think this is all great. I think this is wonderful. I can't wait to see kind of how we make these things happen in our community, because these are things that will make our community a better place. Thank you.
I'll pass those comments on to Mark.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Shattuck McNally, questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I kind of echo some of the comments of Commissioner Stevens. And I think the objective 2 and the 2A, I think about Zach's Barbershop in Loveland, which is the only Black-owned barbershop, right? And how can we help them be thriving and expand to provide? When you talk about customers, I think that also is important to think about. And I hear about the business owners, but I also think we need to look at the customers and the needs that are in there. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up because we do know that some of our underrepresented, sorry, it was a long 15-hour day yesterday, underrepresented not only businesses, but these are also the customers. And so maybe I don't know how we look at the needs in the community that are the customers, that maybe we need to help those businesses that are still not here yet, and how we could promote or recruit that kind of economy or business for those. And then there's a lot here on this. And I think also one of the areas for quality of life is, as we're working with our behavioral health, but also our opioid abatement and some of this recovery aspects, there are some, maybe that has to be, when you talk about criminally injustice involved in our residents, reentry, maybe we also need to look at that for some of these systems that are helping folks who maybe weren't involved, maybe had to been diverted and are working, and how do we help them find, sustainable jobs before there's criminal justice is involved. So I feel like that's a missing group there. We're either here or here, and I think there's a group that we're trying to keep out of the criminal justice system that need resources and support, and maybe that would be another area of just curious. This is phenomenal. There's just a lot there, like I said, but maybe there's just one other group that just needs to be thought of. This is fantastic. I'm not saying there's something wrong, but I was thinking about that's kind of a different subset. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll pass those comments on as well.
As I said, well done, Josh. I will. I have two questions. One is, since we're focused on this equitable economy objective under quality of life, I'm just wondering regarding 2B, the care workforce. You call out child care, health care, and direct care. Does direct care specifically include caretaking needs for older adults, people who are maybe with cognitive disabilities who are getting older? Is that?
Yeah, as I understand it from Mark, it really encompasses the entire care workforce. You mentioned folks with cognitive disabilities or aging. There's actually, I believe it's NOCO Works is this one, the regional effort, and they're focused on that. So yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because obviously, with changing demographics, folks living longer, and then even people with intellectual developmental disabilities as they get older, and sometimes their parents are aging parents, and how does that work so people can live independently? So thank you. And the question I have then is, or the second question is, could you explain a little bit more what the next steps are in terms of securing all of the objective team leaders, the teams, and then the process by which more actionable objectives will be determined? Could you talk about that, sir?
Sure. So we've identified the majority of the teams. We're also interested in promoting this to our employees to see if anyone else is interested. So none of the teams are really finalized, I would say. We have scheduled quarterly work sessions to provide updates on the progress of these objectives. We are going to hopefully implement a software system that all of the teams can use to track their progress. In some cases, like on natural and built environment with the 3A there, developing sustainable, cost-effective programs, Open Space and Natural Resources are working on their master plan right now, and that's part of really going to be part of this. And so as that plan proceeds, and the nice thing about that is they have public participation and outreach and things like that. They'll be providing updates on that as part of their effort, and then we'll also provide updates on that as well. I think, the first year, a lot of these teams will kind of be doing inventory, seeing where they're at, especially where areas like we discussed before, where there's so many things already going on. And so I envision the first year will kind of be, here's all the things we've identified. Here's the things we can start to work on with specific deliverables. And so it'll really be a case-by-case basis. Some of these, like updating the facilities master plan, that plan will go on as it did before. It's more of an update as opposed to a comprehensive one, and so the update should be pretty simple, right? There's a plan, here's our space needs, things of that nature. So it's really, there's going to be a lot of variety to it. I envision that at some of the work sessions, we may focus on one or two objectives because there'll be a lot to talk about. And then there may not be as much in other ones. So it'll be a variety, and we do have 5 years to accomplish this. So I think you'll start to see more specifics in years 2 and beyond that.
Great, thank you. And it seems like one opportunity for the commissioners to continue our appropriate engagement is there'll be work sessions and things of that nature to help provide updates when it's best to provide those updates.
Yep.
So before we go to the motion, I'd like to check in with our county manager, Lorenda Volker. Is there do you have any questions or perhaps any final comments before we go to the motion?
I guess I'd like to thank Josh and the core team. This group, small group, has worked for a year to put this process together, to gather community input, to look at the plans that exist within the county. One thing we discovered is the county is getting better and better at thinking strategically within departments and service areas. And so where in previous years the strategic plan was sort of the big strategic thinking, you'll see that we've connected to other plans because there are master plans and community health improvement plans and climate smart plans. There are lots of things that we've adopted that we felt like if we could knit them together in a way that makes sense to the community based on the feedback that we heard from community leaders, it would be more meaningful and impactful as we report those things out. So all of the plans will get regular reports, but these are the things that the public said are really important to them that we already have ideas to work on. And so you saw how easy it is here today to look at these again. We've looked at them probably, 5 or 6 times collectively, and new ideas come forward based on new experiences and those kind of things. So the idea of this one is the categories are set, but that the objectives may ebb and flow. I think, Commissioner, you make it a great suggestion about building wealth. That might be one of the North Star measurables. We try to figure out what is today's baseline and what is it 5 years from now, and what have we done to improve that? What have we done around education, around being FireWise? Have we seen a difference? Are people able to get insurance? Or have we made a dent in some measurable way? Not just have we accomplished the tasks we've set out to do, but have we made a difference for our community by doing these things? It's the bigger what that we're hoping to achieve and look back and measure in 5 years. And hopefully these things become part of community culture and continue on for years and years, and it isn't something that just ends at the end of a 5-year plan. So I think that's the vision that the departments have, the objective leaders have. I think the team members are excited because it feels a little different this year. It feels like something that they can really not wait 5 years to accomplish, but begin to work on and make a difference today. And frankly, that's why people work in local government, is to make a difference. They could work lots of places, but they choose to work for Larimer County for that reason. So we are really excited about it. We think that first quarterly report is going to be more about what measurable objectives have been set, what are the first few things that we're working on, how might we get your thoughts and advice, how might you promote these? Maybe you know folks from the community who would be great members of these teams, or at least subject matter experts to offer their advice from time to time. We're looking forward to kicking off today and then really getting going as the year goes on. So Josh, thank you again. I know this has been a big deal. We even established a department team to help work on this so that the reporting looks different. We have a better way to make to gauge success and progress and what we're doing across this and make it less burdensome for these objective leaders to be able to manage so that they can really do the work of it and let the reporting fall into place using better tools. So all of this is exciting. You can probably hear it in my voice. I'm really looking forward to getting going on this. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about it.
Yes, thank you, Lorenda. Thank you for those well-articulated insights. So at this time, we'll move to the motion. I'll ask Commissioner Shaddock McNally, would you offer that motion, please?
I move to approve the goals and objectives for 2024 through 2028 Larimer County Strategic Plan.
Great, thank you. That is a proper motion. Any further discussion? I actually have a quick comment. Just dawned on me. I think that, this has been a very iterative process. I think, like a budget, it's one could view it perhaps as a moral document that strives to reflect not only the values of the county organization, but I would say more importantly, community values. So I think the strategic plan is that. Just wanted to say that. Okay. Yes, Commissioner Shaddock McNally.
Before we vote, sir, I just want to, I don't know if I did, but I just want to thank all the 100 and some community members that came to our Community Leaders Summit, all the people across our county have provided input, and thank you to all of our service level directors and you, Lorenda, leading the charge, and Lori and Josh leading all of this and gathering this into this really well-presented and exciting document. And I just really feel like I hear and see the voices of so many folks coming out of this document, and I'm really excited about this. And I want to thank you for all your work and your leadership here. So thank you.
Thank you.
There is a motion on the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. We'll carry on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day, Josh.
You too.
County Manager update.
So I want to give Josh one more round of kudos related to the strategic plan, but the City of Fort Collins is also working on their strategic plan kind of at the same time. And so Josh has met with their staff to try to see that we don't duplicate efforts. So they understand what's in our plan. Perhaps we can share members, or we might make sure we don't reinvent the wheel and both be working on the same thing, kind of in opposition. And so I want to applaud that outreach. I think that's something that we've not done before, really, as we try to involve more partners in what we do. We're great collaborators, and we're getting greater, if that's a possibility. And I'm looking forward to that too, because I think if we could combine a team and have a single team that works on something that has funds and resources available from both organizations, we can move it forward even faster. So, Josh, thank you for that. That's quite an accomplishment as well. Regarding the electric vehicle, I want to say that was a example of fortitude and sticking with it. We placed an order for this vehicle more than 2 years ago, and the order continued to be canceled. So we would get 6 months down the road, and we would see that it was canceled. And so Heidi got very creative and figured out how to get this vehicle here. And it did take us 2 years, but it's here now. And I think the most telling thing about what she said is Fleet drove it, charged it, used it, so that they can talk to users about the experience. That vehicle will not work for every application we have in the county. Our Road and Bridge Department, who works up in the mountains, is likely not to find that effective for them. They might find a plug-in hybrid effective. They may need to stick with a diesel engine for certain things. But understanding the application so that we buy these in a successful way as we go forward, and departments understand what they're getting into and are pleased with their result. We have a utility program for our fleet, and so while we don't tell them what they buy, we make things available and talk about the benefits. And having one, and kudos to facilities for taking this on, they replaced a truck with an electric truck. And so they had a truck in their fleet. They decided this was a good application. They would be one of the first to do this. And I have to give them a lot of credit for that and making it available to the rest of the organization. We do see pool vehicles as a really good alternative. The fleet campus provides those for the county, and then departments rent those. And that may be the next good application, but there are departments clamoring for these. The Health Department, Natural Resources, even our Community Development Department has some good application for this as well. So we think we'll have a mixed fleet over time, but this first step is really, really critical to the success of this program and building trust around electric vehicles and the ability to charge and get the distances you need. So I applaud their work and just sticking to it for the 2 years it took to get that thing here. It's a pretty big deal. The other thing I will say is, of course, do a lot of coordination meetings and attend a lot of things during the week. And the Community Corrections Advisory Board meets monthly, and they've started a new thing. Alex Danielson, who is the Corrections Services Supervisor, highlights one of the offenders who's in the program, who's gone through the program, and how the circumstances which they came in, the treatment they've received, and what they've done as they're working through the program, and then where they are today as they're exiting the program. This is really an amazing highlight of the good work that this service provides. People come in hopeless. They come into the program thinking they've been in programs before, they've maybe come out of incarceration, but our staff is so caring and so effective in this area that they do change lives. And it reminds me every time I see one of these, for every success story, there are some that don't and may reoffend and have to come back through the system. But there are really important success stories that make our community better and stronger. And I just want to thank this department, Emily Humphrey, Tim Hand, the two leaders of the department, and Alexis Danielson for taking on interviewing people and really getting to know them on a human level. I think that's why this works so well in Larimer County, better than it does maybe in other counties, because the offenders are people. They're humans. They have had human problems, human issues, human frailties, and human successes. And so I just want to really highlight that for you all and for the community. It's really uplifting to see those things, and I'm glad they've added it to the agenda. And that's all I'll say today. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorinda. We'll now go to Commissioner activity reports. How about Commissioner Stevens? You want to start us off, please?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Mr. Chair. Yeah, thank you to Lorinda for highlighting that on our Community Corrections Board. It is really moving to see how lives are changed, and community corrections, which could be a pretty dour and depressing place, is a really hopeful place because people are there working on issues that they have to try to get better, to get back with their families, to get back into our community. There are multiple success stories, but it is a place of hope and healing, and I say that all the time. It's just a remarkable place, and it's why I want to take everyone on a tour there. So, but thank you for remembering that story was really moving on Tuesday. We also, on Wednesday, we also had another moving story, which was we got to visit with the Holocaust survivor Esther Bosch. She came from Arizona. She is 95 or 96 years old. Flew out from Arizona and went right to the Student Center because her flight was late. Didn't miss a beat, told her remarkable story of being in Auschwitz and other labor camps, having her parents be killed in Auschwitz almost immediately upon arrival, and just the story of perseverance. But her message was one of love, and it's like, keep loving one another, keep taking care of one another, be joyful, be positive in life. She really believed in God. I mean, her message was definitely inspiring, to experience such horrors and to be that present and kind and loving still. It was just remarkable. And so I took a lot of inspiration from that, and it was certainly a moving talk. On Thursday, we had our non-attainment area air pollution mitigation enterprise meeting. In that meeting, we actually started talking about possible financing. So we have about $25 million, but what kind of big projects could we accomplish if we use a bonding tool? And so the only problem was that there is a lawsuit pending against all the enterprises that were created through 260. And so we're not sure if that's going to hinder us in that way, but it is a possibility for us to do a big project, like a big BRT project, or potentially, while we haven't discussed this, Front Range Rail. And speaking of that, I hope folks saw that the white paper came out from the governor's office around how we make Front Range Passenger Rail a reality, really digging into the financing options and some of the funds that are available right now to be able to make that a reality. So that was pretty exciting. I think that a lot of the papers picked it up, including the Colorado, and I see my friend Tom's eyes light up when we talk about passenger rail, and I think a lot of people's eyes actually light up when we talk about it, because it's a real solution to some of the congestion that we're seeing on our highways, and a way to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and also low-level ozone problems that we have. So there's so many reasons that it's a really great solution to some of the problems we're facing. And then finally, attended the Fort Collins Urban Renewal Authority. It was a really great conversation about how we move forward as an urban renewal authority and be proactive about projects instead of having developers come to you. How do you say, this is what we want for our community? We want developers to respond to this. If so, there would be Urban Renewal Authority dollars available, but to really address some of the issues we have around maybe pedestrian and bike infrastructure and affordable housing and some of the issues that we're seeing in our community. So I think it was an exciting discussion because, there again, it's not it doesn't have to be a passive tool. It can be a really active tool that we use to create our communities in the way that we want to. So that was exciting. And then finally, just wanted to invite you all, the Upper Front Range Transportation Planning Region will have a meeting here. We're hosting on Thursday. So will the North Front Range MPO. MPO is Metropolitan Planning Organization. So if you're geeked out about transportation, Thursday is your day to come to Fort Collins and learn what we're doing here. And so would like to invite my colleagues and anyone else who would like to attend those meetings. And that is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I presume the times are in our calendar regarding the meetings you just referenced?
I'm not sure they're in your calendar, but they are in my calendar if you want to take a look, and we can certainly get
Okay.
them into your calendar.
I can, thank you. Commissioner, please.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. That was one thing I forgot to add to the calendar, that I might potentially come by and just at least at the beginning come listen. It just depends on how my day unfolds. I have some family commitments on Thursday that I need to be flexible with, so I would like to maybe come and at least have that on the calendar so I can try to come to that. So I had lots of different activities last week. One thing I wanted to kind of highlight for my colleagues is I had a meeting with some state legislators and other county commissioners from around the state and the insurance commissioner, Mr. Conway, about wildfire insurance with their homes or projects. And we had a really great opportunity to be able to talk with him and hear from him directly. And it was a great conversation, and I really appreciate his time, and we are going to continue that discussion with the state legislators to find how we can make sure some of our residents and folks can afford insurance and then are able to even get insurance, and what does that look like. I attended the City of Fort Collins City Council meeting briefly on Tuesday night with Laura Walker, our director from Human and Economic Services, and we presented briefly the Community Master Plan for Behavioral Health 2.0, and appreciate the City of Fort Collins for their warm welcome and a little bit of time to help present. Councilmember Susan Katowski had asked us to come present to the council, and so that was, it was a very full council chamber, so that was great to see. I have been attending lots of side meetings with CCAT, I'm sure we all are, and other, groups as we're working with the legislative session. The legislative session is very active, and it seems like there's lots of amendments and changes constantly. So I know my colleagues are in lots of these meetings as well, but they tend to pop up on the schedule, and so that took a lot of my time last week. But I wanted to also, even though Commissioner Stevens brought up our opportunity to celebrate with the students for the Holocaust Awareness Week, which did a phenomenal job of all the activities they organize for the whole weekend, and the great work that they put into the evening with the Holocaust survivor, including the just impactful and moving music from the students, CSU students who are studying music. The quartet was just outstanding, phenomenal, and I think they said to over almost 2,000 people in the room. It's a really well-attended event, and for those who, it's opportunity. A lot of these survivors are, she's 96, they're getting on in life, and their stories are just impactful. Esther Bosch has a documentary come out. She is known as the Honey Girl of Auschwitz, and her daughter Rachel came with her and actually was part of this story that they shared. And so they've been doing a documentary for Esther, and it's basically, she's called the Honey Girl because when she first was, they were so hungry when they were first liberated by the United States military and forces who liberated them from the camp, the labor camp. They gave them some things to eat, and she ate a whole jar of honey, which made her feel very well after being starving. So she is known as the Honey Girl. And the story that was that she had told her family she wanted to meet before she died, but she's still alive and well, and quite the welcoming and positive and great lesson on resilience and forgiveness. But she wanted to meet someone who was there the day and helped her be liberated. And so her family had put out, knew the group that had been there, and they put out a message and actually contacted and found the gentleman who actually shot off the locks for the labor camp and opened the gates. And they were able to bring him out to see her, and as a life wish for her. And so they became very tight and almost family, and continued to meet every year and get together for holidays between this, and I forgot his name at the moment, but it was just a really heartwarming story about how they remember her and told her that we called her the Honey Girl. And so I wanted to share that. So if anyone is interested in this story, the documentary is coming out. It's called The Honey Girl. I wanted to make sure for those interested in the public that might be a really neat story, because she is just a remarkable person for her positivity and resilience, and her message of forgiveness and love and hope. So wanted to share that with everyone. And thanks to all the students and the faculty support. That was well done. I went to the CCI steering committees. I'm helping vice chair of the General Governance Committee for CCI. We had a very active and robust meetings that day, and then I came up for our Regional Opioid Abatement Council, and we are looking at, we voted to support a sober living vouchers for folks coming into recovery, and that could be out of the criminal justice systems or those just coming out of centers. And there's a chance that this will expand into other areas outside of Fort Collins and Loveland that will have a women-dedicated house. And so a lot of this funding that we approve will be dedicated to women vouchers. And I wanted to share that with you because we talk a lot about housing and the different needs of housing. And so here's another way that Larimer County and the Board of County Commissioners is supporting the need for housing. And I just wanted to share that with my colleagues so you're aware of that positive progress there. And I think everyone serves on that Regional Abatement Council. I'm very excited to attend the public launch of Kids Pack for their capital campaign. They're almost 2/3 of the way through. And there was probably 300 people there, 200 or 300 people there. And we were able to speak and celebrate Tom and Corinne Kerrigan and all their work. But the capital campaign has got great momentum, but they still need a little help getting there. So now there's a public capital campaign, and we were able to walk around the progress they've already had with the building, which as a long-term volunteer for Kids Pack for 8 years now. They've never had a home. They've always been renting spaces and back rooms and at the food bank or other places to see that they have starting to get their own permanent home, and the space and the efficiencies that will come along with that is super exciting. Kids Pack will be having a food drive coming up the first weekend of March, and For those in the Thompson School District area, if you're at one of those grocery stores and can donate or buy some of that food as you walk in your store and put it back in the boxes as you leave, I encourage you. I think it's at Safeway, it's in King Soopers and lots of areas, and I hope that you'll attend that and maybe be generous in giving, even if it's a can of or a box of macaroni and cheese, all is welcome. So we had our Open Lands Advisory Board meeting, and it was a great conversation about some of the steps there. There's a committee that's starting to form, and one of the OLAB members will be on that as we look forward to kind of starting the public process for the Chimney Hollow open space and what that looks like. We had some updates on that, and that was very exciting. And then I jumped on and virtually attended with our counties and commissioners and counties acting together all-member meeting virtually, and that went kind of long, but we have a lot to talk about as the legislative session is already about 100 bills ahead of where they were last year at this time, and so they're really active and doing a lot of work. We had our Forest Health Council meeting for the Colorado. I chair the legislative committee, and we are making progress on our bills that were accepted and approved and made through the process about dealing with pilot programs and woody biomass and mitigation programs through the state, and adding another avenue for maybe some grants for local efforts. But we're also about ready to start making our recommendations for 2025, including budget and legislative recommendations already, because we're trying to get ahead and really work on that. So it's been really active group. We meet every 2 weeks, and I'm not sure my colleagues are aware of these 4 collaborative forest health collaboratives, which are local groups that come together and talk. And there's little tiny groups all over the state. They're mostly volunteers, and then there's a coordinator that helps them all come together and talk. And we heard they had some meetings to kind of bring some of really from the ground up to provide recommendations. And so we heard from them, and that was really exciting and really important to hear from some of the work, especially in smaller counties that don't have kind of the resources that some of the rest of us have. And it was really good information to have. And so already planning for 2025. I met with some constituents about housing on Saturday, and that was very insightful and helpful. It was a really good conversation. I think, and I've joined a new group. I've been trying to do a new group. I've been meeting with the Larimer Suicide Fatality Review Board, and they're looking at making some recommendations, and a lot of this work about ending social isolation, especially for veterans, really aligns with some of the things that we've been attending. As Commissioner Stevens and I went to the Veterans Administration building and had that conversation, and so there's a lot of this work that is overlapping and aligning, and I'm hoping that I can help connect all these dots and help us all be kind of working together and not have silo work. So I wanted to share that, and thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I have to share.
Thank you, Commissioners. I think my activity report will be brief. Was able to attend the Veterans Together meeting last Wednesday, and there was Lee Cooper, who was at the VA clinic. The discussion about social isolation, was able to give a bit of an update on that and why that's important. 2 takeaways from that meeting, Veterans Together. One is that I'm going to follow up with Lee Cooper and to see how we might, or how they might consider different ways of outreaching and marketing what that group does. The last few times that I've been there, there's hardly been anyone there, and they do provide good updates that are useful for folks. So I'd like to follow up with him in that regard. Also, he expressed an interest in coming to community conversations to talk about the VSO, so that's something folks might consider. So to make sure that people know what services are provided. Then also on Wednesday, or right after that, I did have the privilege of being with the Associated Students of Colorado State University, the executive cabinet of the student body president, ASCSU folks, and that was a good opportunity to talk about the county, talk about the issues, and answer really thoughtful, insightful questions. They had really great questions, and we went for about an hour. The Holocaust awareness event, the speaker, as my colleagues have said, was pretty amazing and powerful. Grateful to have been there and to have met her a little bit. Thursday, we had our community conversation in Red Feather Lakes. The sheriff and I carpooled up there, and he was the guest of honor. And it was a good meeting, about 25 folks. We also had Dr. Paul Mayer, who kind of on short notice decided to come up to give an update on the discussions that are happening regarding addressing some of the healthcare access gaps, needs in the Red Feather Lakes area. The sheriff and I went to the Red Feather Lakes PAC meeting, at least the first half hour, and he was able to answer their questions about the deputies that are deployed and how it's a challenge to cover a big swath of land, and what are some things that we can do to address some of those needs. I guess finally then, I did attend the CCI, Colorado County Zinc Steering Committee meetings on Friday, Health and Human Services, Natural Lands and Resources, Ag related. I pulled off at around 2 o'clock. That was about all I could handle. But there were a lot of good discussion, always interesting. There were votes on various positions for various bills. That is all. Thank you. We do not have any legal matters. Therefore, I believe we've completed our work for this morning. At 10:31 a.m., we are adjourned. Thank you all.